Welcome back, everyone. Brad from Redbeard Seasonings. Today we're going to cold smoke some cheese. Need a couple things. Obviously we're going to need some cheese. You can smoke any type of cheese, doesn't matter, whatever you like. We're also going to need a couple of aluminum baking pans, some ice, and some wood to smoke it with. When it comes to cheeses and smoking cheeses, some people prefer not to use a heat source. In this case today we're going to smoke at 100 degrees, and we're going to put an ice pan in the smoker. I'll show you guys that setup here shortly. I'm going to use a heat source. What the heat does, you don't want too much heat because it's going to melt the cheese, but a little bit of heat, anywhere 90 to 100 degrees, I wouldn't go any higher than that, it's going to get those fats in the cheeses melting slightly, just enough to absorb that smoke flavor into the cheese. So the first thing you want to do is about 20 minutes, half an hour before you smoke the cheese, you want to put your blocks of cheese in the freezer, get them nice and cold, and then we'll set them out on a rack and get them in the smoker. When it comes to wood selection for as far as smoke, your stronger flavored cheeses, you're going to want to use like a hickory or mesquite wood, something that's got a really strong, bold flavor to it. Your milder cheeses like mozzarella, mild cheddar, cheeses like that, you want to use apple, cherry, pecan. You can use alder wood, you can use peach. Today I'm going to be using mix 50-50 between apple and pecan wood to smoke. So you can kind of play around with your smoke flavors, different kinds of cheeses, see what you like best. I'm going to grab the cheese out of the freezer and then we'll show you guys the setup. So we had the cheese in the freezer for about 20 minutes. Today we're going to smoke some Colby Jack, Pepper Jack, Gouda, Munster, and mozzarella. These are each 8-ounce blocks. I'm going to put these in the smoker here in a minute and I'll show you guys the setup with the ice tray. You're going to need your wood, which we've got pecan and apple mixed up here. You're also going to need a 9x16 tray with ice in it, and then you'll need one that's empty. For the setup in the smoker, I'm doing this in an electric smoker. I've got the temperature set at 100 degrees, which is the lowest setting that it'll go down to. Got an empty pan down here on the bottom, flipped upside down, that's going to help deflect the direct heat away from the cheese. The next shelf up, I've got a pan of ice here that's going to help keep the cheese cool so that it doesn't get too hot and melt. And then on the top rack here, I've got the cheese. So you can see you want the cheese to be as far up as you can get it in the smoker, away from the direct heat. So we're going to smoke this for about 2 to 2.5 hours, roughly. We'll check on it here in a little bit. So for smoking cheese, it is possible to smoke it with no heat. I'm choosing to use heat today because it brings out the fat, which allows the flavor to marry into the cheese a little bit better. It's a personal preference thing. If you have an actual cold smoker or you have a different setup, that's fine. This is just one way to do it with the ice trays and using a little bit of heat. We'll check back here in probably about an hour and I'll show you guys the cheese so you can see how the fats are melting and coming to the surface a little bit. When you check on the cheese, if it's starting to melt through the grate or through your rack on the smoker, it's way too hot. At the 1 hour mark, we're going to add in some more ice to the tray, try and keep that cheese as cool as possible while still getting the smoke married into the cheese to give it that good flavor. At an hour in, it's dark out, I apologize, but if you can see on the cheese, the edges are starting to get a little bit of a tan color to them. And if you can see those little droplets, that's the fats in the cheese coming out. At this point, we've got a little bit of our ice left. I'm going to go ahead and fill that back up to keep the cheese nice and cold. And then let this go for about another hour or so. I'm also going to add in some more wood chips to the firebox to keep that smoke rolling, to really build that flavor in. Okay, so after 2 hours, here's what we've got. The easiest way to tell when cheese is done, if you see that the corners are starting to round a little bit, and it's got that nice brown smoked edge on it. The mozzarella, Munster, Gouda, pepper jack, and Colby Jack. Once you pull this out, you want to put it in the fridge and chill it. Want to serve chilled, it'll slice really nice after you leave it in there for a good 3 or 4 hours. If you'll notice on the bottom here, you can see that the cheese isn't melting down through the grate. That's what you want. If it's melting down through, that means you've got way too much heat. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe. More videos coming your way.